Hi, this is Kane Hodder, better known as Jason from Friday the 13th. You are listening to the Don't Go Out There horror movie review podcast. I'd like you to listen to it. And also, if you happen to review me poorly or any of my films, well, I will kill you.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank everyone who's been listening. We really appreciate all the love we've been getting. And we're really excited. We got another awesome guest interview tonight. The one and only Kane Hodder. From the well-known roles such as Jason Voorhees and Victor Crowley to being an author of Unmasked, which was adapted into To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. To say Kane Hodder is a horror legend is an understatement, and we are blessed beyond belief to have him join us here today. Kane, welcome. And you may not remember, I'm sure you do a ton of these, but we actually got you to do a little intro for us through Cameo, and you told us if we ever reviewed you or your movies poorly, you'd kill every one of us. So just so you know, no worries here.
By the way.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today? How are you doing today, Kane?
Can you imagine what my career would have been like if people would have done exactly what your podcast is titled? Don't Go Out There. Can you imagine if everyone had actually done that? I would never have killed anyone.
That's right.
Well, no, that's not true because I come in where they are too. So, but it would have minimized my effectiveness, I think.
Absolutely. Your kill count would have been a lot lower, no doubt. You've had a brilliant career from stunt work to playing killers like Jason Voorhees and others. But I wanted to touch on your documentary you released back in 2018, The Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. Can you talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Well, I mean, Derek Herbert approached me and said he enjoyed, the book Unmasked. That was basically my life story in a book form, and he thought he could do a really interesting version of my life with, more than just words. And, I had been approached by other people before about doing so, but for some reason I got a really good vibe from Derek, and we talked, and I knew if I was going to do this was the guy to do it. And I was very pleased with the final product. And I think, it's not the typical story, certainly, because there's a lot of difficult subject matter. But, people that have been through things in their own lives kind of identified with that and could appreciate that, someone that they watch in films has gone through some shit themselves and can appreciate when other people are going through certain problems. So I think that was the big response I got, and that I was just very happy with the product that Derek came out with.
Okay. So we actually just had Robert Englund on our show last week, and we know you guys
sorry
have.
to hear that.
So we know you guys have worked
now,
together.
Wait. Before you go on,
yeah.
Let me guess how many words the two of you were able to say during that interview. Because I've known Robert for a long time, and man, he is an easy interview because he'll just keep talking, and and that's not necessarily bad, but
right.
he will just go off on different subjects and talk forever, and it makes it easy for you guys. But he's just a really good friend, and we've known each other forever. So that's why I can kid with him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and like you mentioned, you've known each other forever. I mean, you guys been on multiple projects together, from the science fiction show V to one of the latest Hatchet installments, which, if I'm not mistaken, Tony Todd's even in. Can you talk to us about a little bit about what it is working with him when you two have such rich histories in the horror genre?
With Robert or Tony or any one of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Robert,
you know,
but yeah, Tony too.
Yeah, I mean, Robert and I have, I'm going to just take a look at something real quick while I'm talking. I want to see how many projects that Robert and I have done together, actually. But yeah, I mean, we really do well when we work together because we know each other very well. I put it like the same way as working with Bill Moseley. Robert is such a good actor that he will ad lib something just like Moseley does in a scene that was never written. He'll talk about something, and then if you're secure enough in your character, you can go with that. And I love doing scenes like that because that's certainly not going to come off as rehearsed if you guys didn't even know what you were going to do.
Right.
And that's, and I just think Robert and people like Moseley and other actors are just such a pleasure to work with because, you have to remember these guys are trained actors. I was never trained in acting in any way. If I was a stuntman for the first 25 years of my career, never even really delivered dialogue on film. So I guess if I have any ability to act, it's because I watched quality actors work on the set for so many years doing stunts that, I kind of picked up my own way of doing things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, you mentioned you and Robert had done a lot of projects together, and we all know that you should have been in at least one more movie together, but we won't get in that too much.
That's for damn sure.
I wouldn't suggest it unless you want me to really find out where you guys are.
No.
No.
I kid about it, but it was a really tough time in my career where I put in my heart and soul into a character for 4 consecutive films.
Right.
And then I am told I'm doing the movie, Freddy versus Jason. I was given the script. So when you're told by an executive that you're doing the movie and here's the script, you pretty much think it's a done deal, even though you haven't signed a contract yet.
Right.
And then it was just replaced, and nobody ever bothered to give me a call and say, hey, we're going to go a different way, even though I wouldn't have agreed with it. That would have been a courteous thing to do, but I didn't even get that. So, it's a pretty bad point in my career.
So, Mr. Hodder, speaking of Jason, your most famous character, obviously, can you talk about your involvement in the latest Hearts of Darkness, Jason Goes to Hell documentary? We had Adam Marcus on the show, and obviously he spoke very highly of you, but was very excited about this upcoming documentary.
Yeah, I there's been other ones done that are similar, but Adam, knowing how he works and the quality of his work, this should be a really amazing project. I mean, he's really going deep into talking to so many people that were involved with the franchise and, still are. I mean, I would love to play the character one more time. I could still be a violent motherfucker. And if they did one more film, it would be the 13th one. What a great opportunity that would be to do one last film, the 13th Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that they'll ask me to, but I certainly would do it.
Agree. Hey, you got my vote. Like, if they're gonna do it, let's do this thing right. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So I know at least 2 of our hosts have done some pretty, in-depth, gameplay with the Friday the 13th video game. Can you talk about that experience and how it was different from any movie and other stunt work that you'd done?
Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, I was honored when Gun Media came to me, and they were absolutely convinced that I should be the one to do the motion capture for Jason in the video game. And I just felt honored and very happy that they wanted me to. From the first motion capture session to the last that I did, it was a year and 10 months. That's how long it took to do all the rendering of all the content.
Wow.
For the
Wow.
And it wasn't constant, but it was a session here, another one a few weeks later, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was unusual because when you play a character like Jason in a film, you look scary as hell on the set.
Right.
And it's pretty easy to be intimidating. Now, when you do motion capture, you are wearing spandex with a lot of sensors everywhere. So you don't look scary. Or maybe
Right.
I do. Maybe that's even worse. I don't know. But so you have to keep in mind that the character you're playing, and just even though you look different, you have to just do the same actions that you're used to doing. And the thing that I didn't realize would be possible was, and I've talked about it before, but was that even though I'm standing on a motion capture stage, which is a grid work on the floor and like 75 cameras capturing every move you make from every possible angle. And I didn't realize that I could look at a monitor off the side of the stage, the motion
Right.
capture stage, and I could look at myself and I'm already animated.
Wow.
Even
That's
though
cool.
I'm standing on the stage in spandex, I could look at a monitor and see me live, already
Oh, wow.
looking like Jason.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So I thought that was an amazing thing. Maybe it's a standard procedure in doing video games, but I didn't know it was possible.
Right.
So that was
Yeah.
very cool to see how I would look doing this action, as the character. And
Yeah.
I brought in stunt people to be the victims, of course. In fact, every single male victim in the video game is the same stunt guy named Ryan Statz. He is every single male victim
Wow.
in the game, and there were two different stunt girls I used for all the female victims. But yeah, that's kind of a cool thing for him to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's me, even though it looks like somebody else, and and it was kind of different in that when you do a stunt type scene on a film, you have to make it look good from one particular angle, or maybe two if there's two cameras simultaneously filming. You just have to make this action look good from their POV.
Right.
But when you're doing motion capture, you have to make the action look good from every possible angle at the same time. So you got to get into a little different mindset. If you're, smashing somebody in the face with something, easy to do when you position yourself correctly for a camera. But on a video game, you have to change it a little bit. So no matter what camera is looking at you, it's still going to look like a hit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but it was a lot of fun. Every time they would call and say, "Hey, we're doing another session. We'd do a few days of motion capture," I'd be very excited. And then when the final product came out, I was very, very happy. I was honored to be asked to be a part of it.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, it's a fun game. It's kind of frustrating though, because whenever you get to play the role of Jason, you have to hit him so many times to kill the people. But
Yeah, I know,
Right,
man.
right.
It's very difficult, but it is a lot of fun. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you don't
Kane,
want it too easy to master,
Right.
and
No,
then it's not
absolutely.
a challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kane, we recently had your friend and fellow Jason actor C.J. Graham on the show. How did, if any, did his portrayal of the first zombie Jason influence you when you took over the role in Part 7?
Well, I wouldn't say that his performance influenced me because I just had my own ideas about stuff.
Right.
But his performance, other than, the films I did, his performance was my favorite. Out of all the other guys that have played Jason, I think he did the best job. And so, I think, honestly, without John Buechler being in my corner, I think CJ would have played the part again in Part 7. But John Buechler was insistent. He was directing Part 7, so he was insistent on me playing the character because we worked together well. And the thing that I had on my side was that in Part 7, out of all the movies, still the most stunts that Jason ever had to do was in Part 7. Because if you think about it, most of the time the stunts are being performed by the people that Jason is killing.
Right.
But
Right.
because Tina had powers to make things happen to Jason, there were the most stunts that Jason's ever had to do. So the fact that CJ's not really a stunt guy, he's a good physical actor, but he couldn't have done the fire stunt and
Right.
other things like that. So that helped my cause. But, if it hadn't been for those things, I think CJ probably would have done it again. And, he's definitely my best buddy within the other Jason actors. We get along great, and we always look forward to seeing each other at conventions. So, yeah.
Hey, Kane, I just want to ask you one more quick question about Part 7. Can you just tell us a little bit about the makeup and how extensive it was? Because it was a great look in that movie.
I agree. I think that
Great
was
look.
one of the best makeups that we've ever had for underneath the hockey mask. And you have to remember that for, more than 3/4 of the movie, the hockey mask never came off.
Hmm.
But I still had to go through the makeup process every day because John Buechler wanted it to be consistent. And I agreed with him after I saw the movie. If you tried to do a version of the makeup but no face or something wouldn't have looked the same.
Right.
Because part of the hockey mask was missing, so you could see my teeth. And if you were going to see my teeth, you had to see them moving. So I had to do the makeup every day for 2 months. And it was 3.5 hours to put that shit on.
Wow.
Yeah. Every single day, because every part of it was glued on my face. And it took almost an hour and a half to take it off. So you got 3.5 hours
Wow.
putting it on, hour and a half taking it off. That's 5 hours out of your day, and you haven't even worked in that time.
Right.
So it was exhausting, but I was so happy to be doing it that, it was just a pleasure. And I couldn't really see out of one eye because, they made it look like one eye was missing.
Right.
So in the makeup, I only had one eye, and then I had a contact lens on that one eye that I could see out of. So I had one eye of vision, and that was pretty much screwed up because of a cloudy contact lens. And then I had to do all these stunts with that kind of vision. So, there's a lot more that went into that, a lot more challenges that went into playing the character than you would have thought.
Right.
Absolutely. So you're in another movie called Room 9 with, and there's a reason I'm asking this, I promise. You're in a movie, Room 9, with one of my personal favorites, Scout Taylor Compton. Can you tell us a little bit about that movie and what your role in that movie was?
Yeah, oddly enough, in that movie, I play bad guy. Isn't that odd?
No, absolutely not.
And it's a bad guy that's violent. So once again, standard procedure for me.
Right.
But Scout is a good friend, and we see each other at conventions and stuff, but unfortunately, I didn't really have any scenes with her that much. It would have been nice if I had, just for to have more fun. But I haven't really seen the movie yet, but hopefully it comes out pretty good anyway. And it was anytime I can work with somebody like Scout, I welcome the opportunity, because she is so good at what she does. And I just had a good time whenever we did do anything together.
Yeah. So, your legacy is obviously very tightly woven with Jason Voorhees and more recently Victor Crowley. And you've amassed a very large following in the horror community. What is it about the horror genre that attracts you to it?
Well, I've always enjoyed horror movies, even before I started doing them. I just, and I'm a true crime fan. So I've read all the accounts of all the real serial killers that are well known and stuff. So I've been fascinated by that kind of the kind of personality where somebody could do those kind of things so often and so easily. It seems like it just fascinates me. So, anybody likes to be, well, maybe not anybody, but a lot of people like to be scared when they are in the safety of a movie theater or something. You welcome the scares and the jump scares and everything when you're safe. When it's real life stuff, maybe not so much, but I think people love to be scared, and I'm happy to be scaring the fuckers.
So talking about your legacy being so tightly woven with Jason Voorhees, I mean, when we had Adam Marcus on the show, he said it was a no-brainer that you, of course, Kane, were going to be Jason, in his movie. So, I mean, you are Jason in most people's eyes. Was there a time when you really started feeling like, okay, I'm actually known for this character now. It's mine. I don't need to be directed on him anymore. Was there a time that kind of really started kicking in that you can remember?
Well, I wouldn't say that kicked in so much. I would say that I felt like I knew the character better than anyone else, considering I did 4 consecutive films.
Right.
But I also wasn't such an asshole about it that I wouldn't listen to a director or a writer's ideas about what should happen in a particular scene or something like that. I may not agree with it, and may try to change it or something, but certainly it doesn't hurt to listen to ideas. Even if you think you know the character the most, why not just listen to somebody? Right. Because they may make you think of something. Oh, interesting. Okay, then I kind of agree with that. And the whole famous thing about the scene in Jason Takes Manhattan where scripted that Jason encounters a dog and kicks the dog. I said, I don't think we should do that. And it's not because I'm an animal lover. I mean, I am, but not just because of that. I just felt like Jason wouldn't do something like that. I think he would identify with an animal more so than, kicking one.
Right.
And so once I brought up that point, Bob Bedden, the director, said, yeah, you know what? Right. So we don't shoot that. And, so I did have certain ideas about the character, but I'd always listen to them.
Okay. So, speaking of that, Fanboy 13 has also been gaining some steam, in the horror chat rooms, and if they're even called chat rooms anymore, I mean, Facebook groups, I guess. But can you talk a little bit about that? There are a lot of horror alumni in that film. Can you elaborate, some on it for people that may not know a whole lot about that project?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's Fanboy 13 or 13 Fanboy, but I've heard it both ways.
Okay.
But yeah, it was amazing the amount of alumni from the Friday movies that they were able to get in that movie. And, because of what it is, I play myself in the movie as the guy that has played Jason in the films. So it's just me and, encountering a guy that's obsessed with Jason and thinks he's really Jason. So it's kind of a cool storyline. And I did a fight scene with the guy that's Jason, and I don't survive it. And in my dying scene, and I don't know if you guys know this already, but in my scene where I'm appearing to be dying, I am in the arms of an actress named Jennifer Banco. And Jennifer Banco played young Tina in part 7.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
And when she was just a kid.
Wow.
And now, obviously, she's an adult, and my scene, my appearing to dying scene is in the arms of her, and we're talking. And I asked the director, Deborah Voorhees, and that is her real name. I asked her if I could ad-lib a little bit, because I wanted to do a real emotional scene as I'm dying. So I asked her if I could ad-lib some stuff, and I talked about my dad, because I lost my dad before I ever became successful in this business. And it always really bothered me, because he was concerned that I might not be able to make it in this business, because it's so difficult, especially stunts, because there's no auditioning for stunts. You can't suddenly make it big as a stunt person like you can as an actor.
Right.
It's a long shot, but there's always that chance that the right person sees that audition and you become, working actor. But with stunts, it's a paying your dues type of thing. Takes forever to really make a living, and my dad didn't live long enough to see that, which always really bothered me.
Yeah.
So I talked about that stuff in my scene while I'm laying there with Jennifer, and it was really emotional. And so, I don't know if that particular take will be used, but I was just happy that Deborah let me do that, just for my own,
Right.
enjoyment or purposes. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie, though.
All right, Kane, I got a little bit of a fun question for you. I hope you're ready for it.
Uh-oh. All right.
All right. So you frequent tons of horror conventions. Is there anything that stands out to you as the oddest thing you maybe have ever seen or been asked to do at them? Because us horror fans, we can be a little.
Oh, wow.
And I can't go on record right now saying if I did it or not, but his nose looks different. So we'll just leave it at that.
Incredible.
That's
All right,
awesome.
Kane. Well, what other projects are on the horizon for Kane Hodder for that fans should keep an eye out for?
Oh boy, I did a couple of fun movies last year. One called Knife Corp, where it's like the tagline. It's about kids that sell knife sets door to door, and which like there's a company called Cutco, I think, that used to do that, or maybe still does, where people sell knife sets door to door, and the tagline of the movie is 10,000 doors in the city. They had to knock on his. And I can let you guess who his is referring to, but
right.
I do kidnap somebody, but it's for a reason that is almost understandable. It's not condoning it, and certainly doesn't mean it should ever happen. But as a viewer, I'm hoping you think, you know what? I kind of understand how a person could get to that point, given the circumstances that happened to them. So I'm excited about that one. And then did a little movie called Murder All, where I am endorsing a product called Murder All because it helps me can keep my violent impulses under control as long as I take Murderall. So that was kind of a fun one too. So
That's awesome.
and we'll see what happens this year. See if we're able to get back to work, because there's a couple good projects that I'm supposed to do, but we'll just see what happens with the whole situation. But keep my fingers crossed.
Oh, yes, sir. Kane, before we let you go, I got to ask you one thing, because I don't think I'll ever get the chance to ask you again. All of us here are really big fans. I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be careful. All of us here, we're all big fans of Jason Takes Manhattan. Can you just tell us about that iconic scene when you're in Manhattan and you give that look? That's one of my favorite visuals of the whole franchise. Just you in Times Square, just giving us that look. I really love that scene.
Well, yeah, I mean, we shot the movie for 2 months, and every day of it was shot in Vancouver, Canada, except for the last day of shooting. We did go to New York to do the Times Square thing, which I've done, I think, 175 films. I've been doing this for 43 years, and that'll always be the single most amazing day of shooting I've ever had, because I don't think this could ever happen again, but this was 1989, and we were in the middle of Times Square, and I believe it was a Friday night shooting, and hundreds of people watching, because NYPD was there holding people on all streets so that nobody walked out into Times Square when I was out in the middle. And
Wow.
It was the most incredible feeling when the cameras weren't rolling, all I had to do was look in a certain direction of people, and they would go ape shit, scream, and know that I was looking at them, because I had everything on, the hockey mask. I never took the hockey mask off the whole night, because I didn't want to ruin the image for people that were watching.
Right.
So I'll never again experience something like that. But I'm just glad I was able to do it at that time, because it'll always be the best memory I've ever had on a set.
Awesome.
All right, Kane. Is there anything else you like to plug? We can find you on Cameo for sure, and there's merchandise always available at KaneHodderKills.com. Is there anything else you'd like to give a shout out to, brother?
Well, I mean, I finally decided to actively increase my social media. So I've been back on Twitter and tweeting more than once every 6 months. So people take a look at that. There's now you can go to KaneHodder.com and get a whole new merch page there that I set up, because I did this virtual convention called DEF CON with George Romero, and we set up a merch page that people have always wanted me to do. So you can get autographed photos and stuff personalized through that, and just watch Twitter. I think it'll be you'll find some interesting things.
Oh, yeah, it's funny you mentioned Twitter, because that's how all four of us met, actually, on Twitter, because we're all Florida State football fans.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate you guys asking me to be on the show, and I hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Kane, I just wanted to say
Thanks,
real quick.
guys. Watch your backs, by the way.
Oh, yes, sir. Hey, we really appreciate everything you've done for the Horde, the genre, the community.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate your portrayal of Jason. You did a very, very great job. And I'm rewatching part 7 and 8 tonight just in honor of this. And it's really cool that our very first intro we got for our show, when we finally get to interview the man himself. It's awesome. Thank you, Kane, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again, guys. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.